Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures. Our podcast gives veterans, MilSpouses, and military influencers a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they are affecting their communities post-service, and a tactical treasure from their past that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of speaking with Mike Stevens. Mike is currently serving as the CEO for the Navy League of the United States. He retired from the U.S. Navy in September 2016 after serving as the 13th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. In his 30-year Navy career, Mike served in a variety of operational commands. Following retirement, Mike served as the CEO and COO of Victory Media, a military marketing company focused on veteran employment. Welcome to the Tactical Treasures podcast.
Thank you, Tracy. It's wonderful to join you today.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you again. I think we were just talking a couple minutes before we got started, and I think it's been about 4 years since we've seen each other. And I remember we had started working with Victory Media and got to come out to your headquarters. And I think you subsequently came out with Scott Shaw to ours, and you brought a very special gift, which I would like to share with our viewers and listeners as I bring it up here.
There it
This
is.
lovely, lovely, and I'm going to cover my face for a minute because this lovely plaque is just really awesome.
There it is.
And this was just something that you gave us for one of our articles. I think it was like the first or second article of GI Jobs that we did. And the saying on the bottom was just so lovely and was really special, that you went ahead and did this for us and you came out to our headquarters. It really meant a lot.
Well, it's special that, number one, you remember both of those visits. And I'm happy to know that you still have that framed letter with GI Jobs publication on there. Because, Tracy, I know GI Jobs really wanted to showcase those things that epitomize veterans employment, military spouse employment. And you and Jerry both have been champions in that space. So that was just a small token of our true appreciation for all the work that both of you and all your tremendous teammates there at JDog have done over these last, I think how many years you've been around now?
Well, we started franchising in 2012. JDog
That's
was
what I thought.
originally
I was
started in
thinking about 10 years.
2011. And so it's been a lot of years. We've probably been doing it nationally since 2014. So we're proud of our work here. We love what we're doing, and we obviously love the partnership with GI Jobs and Victory Media. You guys have been awesome partners, helping us get the word out there, get the brand out there, letting veterans know we exist and that there's a place for them at JDog. So we really appreciate that. But I would like to talk about you and tell me a little bit about your service. 33 years, that's quite a career, sir.
Yeah, and you don't join, at least I didn't join the service with any anticipation of doing any more than 4 years. Tracy, I grew up in a small town in western Montana, and as I got close to graduation, I realized that I probably wasn't going to go to college. It just wasn't something I was interested in that time. I wanted to find something to do meaningful with my life. I ended up joining the Navy in 1983. And I like to say I just did it one day at a time. And I'm sure a lot of veterans could tell you the same story, that at some point in their career, they had thought seriously about getting out of the service or retiring at the 20-year mark, those sorts of things. And Teresa and I, my wife Teresa, and I had contemplated the very same thing on a number of occasions. And I'd like to say more fate than anything. because sometimes it wasn't the decision we made, it was the decision that life made for us. And we ended up going left instead of right, going forward instead of stopping. And the next thing you know, you wake up and you have 33 and a half years in the Navy, and you've had these magnificent opportunities to serve in these different capacities. But more importantly, it's about the people that you meet, both in and out of uniform, and just the true pleasure. And I think about this more and more as I get a little bit older and I'm out of the service longer, what a real pleasure and just honor it was to have the opportunity to serve. And so, voila, here I am.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And I think life is like that a lot where, you're kind of guided and you need to follow those cues and follow where the paths open up and lead. Um, so now you are involved with the Navy League. I would love to hear about, what you do there as CEO. Can you tell me a little bit about the Navy League and what you're all about?
Sure. And if I could, just as I start into that, Tracy, I just wanted to mention, we've said it a couple times now, but I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity that Victory Media provided me. Chris Hale's a tremendous entrepreneur and business leader, and he taught me more than I realized that he was teaching me while I was there. Teresa had made the decision that she really wanted to move back to DC. So it was with a heavy heart that, I transitioned out of Victory, and we were going to move to DC. And the president of the Navy League offered me an opportunity to come down and interview for this position of executive director at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And for reasons I still don't fully understand, because there was a lot of really terrific people that had applied for this position, the Navy League provided me with the opportunity to serve as the executive director. About a little over a year ago, we changed our governance model, and I was promoted to, or I should say my role was moved from executive director to chief executive officer. And it's hard to believe, but I've been here over 3.5 years. I think 3 years and 7 months now.
Wow.
I've been with the Navy League. It's a tremendous, tremendous organization, Tracy. It's been around 120 years. It was really formed, back then it was formed to educate the American people in Congress on the importance of a strong maritime nation and what it takes to make the United States a strong maritime nation. Mm. And also to advocate to our members on Capitol Hill, our congressional members, to advocate for the resources that are necessary to sustain a strong maritime force. And I say that because it's Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and our merchant Marines. That's what constitutes our total maritime force. Mm-hmm. So we have 28,000 wonderful members that volunteer for this mission. We have about 35 members on our headquarters staff. That's the paid members of the staff. We recently stood up what we call the Center for Maritime Strategy, which is the intellectual thought leadership arm, a think tank for the Navy League of the United States. We hired a 4-star retired Admiral James Fogo, former commander, Naval Forces Europe and Africa, to be the dean of that center. Mm. And he and his amazing team are just doing terrific work. And so we believe we're making a difference. We have influence, which is what leadership is about. And we're carrying out the mission of the Navy League in, I think, a very noble and productive way, and getting it better every day.
That's great. That sounds really awesome. So what an exciting development, this think tank. Can you explain more about that? And I'd love to hear more about that.
Tracy, it's a labor of love. I want to say almost 3.5 years ago, one of the first events that I went to when I became the executive director, my former boss, the person who selected me to be the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, was Admiral John Greenert. And Admiral John Greenert had retired, and he gave a speech at this event that we were at, and he just talked about this need to bring kind of this coalition of like-minded people together that would be able to provide this intellectual and influential aspect that was necessary to really create a stronger maritime nation.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it needed to consist of defense, it needed to consist of Congress, of academia, of industry, and essentially the entire ecosystem of the maritime. And as he was talking, I thought to myself, why couldn't that be done at the Navy League?
Right, right.
And so through a series of events and bringing together some really amazing people, one of them being my second boss, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral John Richardson, who is a member of our board here at the Navy League. I had the conversation with him, another admiral that I work for, Admiral John Harvey. And then, of course, we had our national president, Mr. Bill Stevenson, and Mr. Frank Russo, and Mr. Doug Fulton, who are all members of this committee that we formed. We got together and we just kind of put together a business plan, and we decided that this is the way that we need to go. We need to form an organization within our organization. It needs to be a think tank. It needs to have a tremendous leader that runs this think tank. And then we need to bring in some really smart people to assist him, and we've done that. And so they produce really, really good content, either through blogs or editorials or podcasts or news, various news articles and television, to really get the story out there about what's going on in the maritime.
Sure.
And what we as a nation need to be thinking about to have the right strategy, the right equipment, the right way of doing business. And they've really taken off. It's one of those things where you build it and you anticipate it's going to take a certain amount of time to get from point A to point B. And they've done that in 4 times the speed that we thought it would be. And so now it's really, it's also part of our business. So it's about raising the capital, the funds that kind of pay for the people that are doing this work. And that's what we're working on now.
Mm.
But they're doing exceptionally well. And it's added a level of cachet, a new level of cachet to our organization, and really increased the influence that I mentioned earlier about being a leader in the space.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing. Amazing work. So needed now, I think, too, in these times. Hello, listeners. We really want to thank you for tuning in and enjoying all the episodes of Tactical Treasures. We're talking to amazing veterans and MilSpouses in the veteran space, and it's just been an amazing experience. And thank you so much for tuning in. But hey, if you want to check out JDog, look us up on JDog.com. And if you go to JDog.com, you'll find out everything about JDog. You'll be able to book a service, either junk removal and hauling or our carpet cleaning and floor care service. You can even look into our franchise, or you can even look at employment. Our JDog franchise owners are hiring all across the country, and they love to hire their fellow veterans and service members. And if you want to know more about our JDog Foundation, we're doing amazing things supporting irreverent warriors and stop soldier suicide, preventing PTSD, and combating veteran suicide. So check us out, jdog.com. Thank you. So Mike, how can veterans in the military community, is there a way that they can help support what you're doing at the Navy League?
Thanks for asking that, Tracy. Originally, when the Navy League was formed, it was formed as a civilian organization.
Mm.
And, I'll go back in our history from 1902 to 1907, only civilians could join the Navy League. And then for a period of time from 1907 to 1941, they did allow members of Congress and active duty service members to join the Navy League. Then from 1941 to 2021, active duty members couldn't participate in the Navy League. And it's interesting because most of our members who, were not members of the Navy League in 1941 were not familiar with this ability prior to 1941 of active duty members being able to join. So it was really a kind of a history and tradition that it was only a civilian organization. Then through some research, we discovered that what we thought was always the case wasn't necessarily always the case. So we
Right.
revisited this active duty membership, and we voted on it a year ago. And now active duty service members can join the Navy League. And we've had a number of them that have joined. Of course, civilians have always been able to join. So now we refer to it as a citizen organization, because whether you're in or out of uniform, you're still a citizen.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's a citizen organization. And if you're, anybody who has any interest at all in our nation's maritime can participate in supporting a strong maritime by becoming a member of the Navy League.
Wow. Okay.
And, so, I would just say, when we ask ourselves, do I have any interest in the maritime? I would just say, look around your house, because probably 2/3 of everything in your house at some point or another was on a ship.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
making its way from some foreign port to our port.
Yeah.
And a lot of the products that we sell end up on a ship going to other countries.
Mhm.
And we've all seen, during the pandemic, and even now, when the shipping supply chain gets disrupted, how it impacts all of us.
Mhm.
And I would just say that that's kind of, I don't want to call it an accident, but the supply chain disruption happened through the maritime because of the pandemic, right? And largely, there's other reasons, but it wasn't done intentionally. So just imagine if a bad state actor or somebody decided to create a choke point by putting a ship in the middle of something that had kinetic capabilities to stop shipping, or someone put mines in the water, or said this area is off limits, and if you come here, bad things can happen, which is what's happening in the Black Sea right now.
Right.
Well, the Russians have pretty much made it known, hey, if you come in here at your own risk.
Mm.
And so as a result of that, it's highly likely that there's going to be a food shortage around the world because of the volume of grain, wheat, and barley that comes out of Ukraine.
Right. Right.
So, we want to make sure we have a strong Navy to preclude that from happening. We want to make sure that we have ships that can move those goods freely. And all of our services play some role in that, all of our maritime services. And, we take a lot of that for granted. We think
Right.
that
Sure.
we're going to wake up in the morning and everything's going to be
Mm.
as it is. And it only takes one nation to do one bad thing. And the next thing you know, the entire supply chain is disrupted. So the Navy League, we're a nonprofit, we're an influential nonprofit. We've committed ourselves to ensuring that free trade and commerce and security around the world remains stable. And
Wow.
anybody that wants to participate in that in any way, whether they want to be a sponsor of the Navy League, they want to donate as an individual, or join as a member of the Navy League, it all contributes in a positive way.
Wow. Wow. That's great. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us. You're right. You don't think that, you wake up in the morning, you go to the market and you're able to get what you need. You don't think that there's ships floating around in the sea that possibly might not get to market. So,
That's right.
yeah. So thank you to the Navy League for looking out. That I think your organization is amazing. For all of our listeners and viewers out there, if you want to find out more about Mike Stevens and all that they're doing at the Navy League, you can either Google Navy League, or you can go to their website, navyleague.org, and you can find out information about how to donate or become a member. So let's dive into your treasure. I'm really excited to hear.
Well, I'm glad that I had a heads up, because that gave me a chance to think about it. I'll approach it from a position of leadership, and I guess you could say also from a personal position. I think for anybody to live their best life, or to be a leader of influence, I like to use that word influence, because to me, that's what leadership is really about, is influence.
I would agree with that.
I think you have to have strong values. In the Navy, our values are honor, courage, and commitment. You have to be ethically and morally grounded, and knowing that life is full of challenges and temptations and twists and turns. You have to be grounded in such a way. Your anchor has to be sunk into solid ground, and you have to be able to weather whatever storm comes your way. And so for me personally, my treasure is really my faith. That's, I think that I know that that is really my guiding light for pretty much everything that I do. I'm not saying that every decision I make, I spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about it from a faith perspective. But when you make it a part of your soul and your DNA, it like becomes like an involuntary reflex. It's like a heartbeat, is that you don't have to think about it. It's just who you are. And so that's really been, honestly, that's been my treasure for a long, long time. And I think that in large part, any success that I've been blessed to enjoy has been largely, if not completely, as a result of that grounding, that faith, that anchor in the ground. So that's really my treasure.
That's truly an incredible treasure. um, yeah, I believe in, faith, and that has grounded me as well. And you're right. I think the more you in ground yourself in that faith, I believe what you say is true. It is like a reflex. It is becomes, a guiding light as you go through your life. And um, definitely when the storms come, you know, sometimes there's often no other place to look but to your faith and to look up. So, um,
So that would be, when you look at it, I'd say, that's the cornerstone, right?
mhm.
And then there's some other aspects of my life or my experiences I would call treasures. And another treasure would be the men and women that I had the opportunity to serve with and lead over that 33 years. And even now, here at the, whether it was at Victory or now that I'm at the Navy League, it's the people. You treasure those people, no pun intended.
Right. No, you're right.
Right. And I think, not that I'm ancient, but as you do get older, you have a tendency to really think about the impact you want to have and the things that you're doing, and how do those things influence and impact others.
Mm, yes.
I like to say that I've been so fortunate that, someone asked me, I said, look, I've been so fortunate. I feel like I've had my moment in the sun, and I feel like I really need to do what I'm doing now to provide like opportunities for other people. And so treasuring your people, and look, treasuring your people doesn't mean that you can't be demanding, doesn't mean you can't have high expectations, or even counsel someone if they need to be counseled. I don't want to use the word discipline because I don't discipline people anymore. But sometimes you got to have hard conversations with good people to help them achieve their goals and their dreams, right? So
Mhm.
I think sometimes we can, in leadership, we use the word take care of, and I don't like to use the word take care of. I prefer to lead, and the byproduct of leadership is they will be taken care
Right. Right.
of. So people, I think the people around you are a treasure, and then of course, there's your family, and the person who I'm closest with is my wife, Teresa. But we say sometimes in the military, we say, I couldn't have achieved anything without the support of my spouse. And I hope we don't say that because it sounds good, right? I think we really take the opportunity to recognize how true that is. And Teresa, and I just sent Teresa a text, I think it was this morning. And I just told her, I just said, I was at work and I was thinking, I said, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate all your encouragement and your support. Because sometimes you get tired, sometimes you feel the weight or pressures of your job or business you're running. And, Teresa's always good at sensing that and just making me feel good about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And equally as important, she's there to support. Tracy, this is a busy week for us. I mean, every night this week, I'm coming home, past 9 o'clock, right? For dinners, for meetings, they're all related to, business.
Right.
And she's at our condo, and she cooks herself a small meal, and she makes something for me, and she leaves it on the stove. I get home, she heats it up, and I have something to eat. She asks me how my day was and encourages me. She doesn't complain about it. She doesn't tell me I need to find something else to do. She wants me, and she wants her to make a difference in other people's lives. So, of course, Teresa's a treasure, right? So I hope it's okay to have more than one treasure.
It certainly is okay to have more than one treasure, and I love your treasures. They're very special, and it's great to hear. Jerry and I work together. We are sewn at the hip, and I know that both of us feel like we could not function without each other. We push each other forward, and in our marriage and in our business. We are like-minded and passionate, and we here at JDog have an amazing team around us, and we think like you do. They are human beings first. We have a bunch of talented military families and veterans. We have a lot of veterans. I think we just had another veteran that we hired part-time. She's a 21-year retired Master Sergeant Marine. She's going to be working for us part-time, and I think we actually tipped the scales. I think we have more veterans than we do civilians here in our office. So, yeah, that's really great. And unfortunately, I feel bad. I think Jerry and I we were actually about to meet with you and Teresa for dinner when we were out in Pittsburgh, and I think both of you got sick, and the dinner ended up never happening. So unfortunately, we did not get to meet your wonderful partner and wife, Teresa. But truly, I do. Our MilSpouses are unbelievably, incredibly strong women, and I respect and admire them so much for how they support their military veteran husbands or wives, in service. It's really amazing. Um, but I have one more question for you. What would you say to other veterans and military service members who might be struggling, during their service or struggling post-service, trying to transition or just struggling in life, due to their service?
Well, that's a good question, and I certainly don't want to get it wrong. I guess I can only let me not tell someone else how they should do it. Let me share with them how I do it. And if it works for them, then great. And if they think it's ridiculous, then that's okay too. Because we're human beings, and everybody kind of approaches life a little bit differently.
True.
And I mean, Teresa and I were actually talking about this the other day, believe it or not, because she was asking me the question, because she said, she was a little bit puzzled why I haven't talked a lot about my service, and I don't really think a lot about it. It's part of me, it's who I am, but I don't know if I even own a rear view mirror, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I don't, I really take the position that there's really nothing that I can do about anything good or bad that's happened in my life in the past. And I like to be prepared and think about, in a responsible sense, the future, but I don't dwell too much on the future, because I've learned that there's just so many things that'll come into play, over a course of, a week, a month, a year, and even sometimes a day. So I try to really focus on the moment in time, the day. I get up in the morning. I'm very good about long range planning and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the responsible thing to do, but it's how you execute each day, and, John Maxwell, one of my favorite authors, says, and I think he stole this from, who's the UCL Bruins coach, John Wooden. So John Wooden used to tell his players, make each day your masterpiece, right?
Wow.
Like if you're going to paint a portrait, just make each day your masterpiece and focus on what's in front of you. And so, you can either look back and say, here's all the great things I did in my life, or here's all the things that didn't go so well for me in my life. Neither one of those are going to really have much of an impact on what you're doing this moment in time, because you can, if you've had some bad experiences, you can put those aside and focus on what you're doing now. If you've had some great experiences, you've learned from that, but you still focus on what you're doing now. When I say now, it's like this moment in time.
Mm, yeah.
And part of that's just the way I approach it. I mean, I don't know if that's good advice or not, but
I think it is. I think it's a great approach. I think just us as human beings tend to uh, go so fast through life that we tend not to live in the moment. I know for myself, um, I try to, being so busy and, having a lot of stuff going on, I try to take each moment in my day and try to be there, be in that moment, be present, I think is the saying. Um, and I've also heard it said, that how the importance of looking forward, because if you look in the rear view mirror, guess what happens? You crash. So, I've heard that motto. In fact, Jerry actually says that all the time, you know,
yeah,
and it is true. If you're looking in the rear view mirror, you're going to crash. So sometimes the best thing to do is just to continue to look forward and try to leave what's behind.
yeah. For me, there's even some things that I do. If you look at my office, you'll see some military memorabilia in here because it's the Navy League of the United States. You try to have that ambiance in your office. Um, but if you go to my home, you would, if you walked in there as a stranger, you wouldn't know that I was ever in the military. And it's not
Wow.
because I'm. I mean, I love my military service, and someone asked me about it. I love to talk about it, but I don't want it to define me. I think, for me, it's really about what am I doing today?
True.
Um, I will not deny that having been the Master Chief of the Navy has provided me with some opportunities, and I'm grateful for those opportunities. But you can't live your life the on what was provided you in the past. You have to make your way every day going forward. A good wake up call for me is when I retired, literally just a few days after I retired. Teresa and I are in Pittsburgh, and we wanted to get a Pennsylvania license plate. I mean, driver's license. So we go to the DMV, and I'm up talking to this gentleman, and he was obviously a veteran. He had his, retired Army cap on, and he was working behind the counter. Probably looked like he maybe was a Vietnam veteran as far as his age went. And he says, at some point, he says, "Have you ever served in the military? Because in Pennsylvania, they'll put, I think, a flag on your ID card
Yeah.
if you serve as a veteran, right?" And I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I did." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, do you have an ID, or do you have a, DD 214? I said, "I have ID." So he just glanced at it. Then he said, "What branch were you in?" And I said, "Oh, I was in the Navy." He goes, "What'd you do in the Navy?" And I was an aircraft mechanic and helicopter crew chief. He says, "No, when you retired, what were you doing?" I said, "Well, I was the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy." And he goes, "Oh, is that kind of like the Sergeant Major of the Army?" I said, "It's the same thing, but for the Navy." And he goes, "Okay, take a number and have a seat." you know, and Teresa says to me, he goes, does he know that you were the Master Chief of the Navy? And I said, "I'm sure he does, and I'm sure he doesn't care." I said, "Welcome to my new life."
Oh, that's a funny story. Oh,
So
wow.
to me that was kind of like, look, he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't care, and nor should he.
Right.
Right? He
Yeah.
thanked me for my service, and now it's kind of like go forward and prove yourself,
Right. Right.
because it's a whole new ballgame.
Sure is. So if people want to learn more about the Navy League and what wonderful things that you all are doing there, uh, how would they find you?
I would say first, I'll make it simple. just Google Navy League,
Okay.
right? And you'll see the NavyLeague.org website. And it's loaded with all of our information and material and how to join and how to be a sponsor and those sorts of things. So, and we'd certainly love to have, more members we have, the more influence we have, especially on Capitol Hill.
Yeah,
So that
sure.
would be. Thank you for allowing me to speak about the Navy League. And anytime I do a podcast or have an opportunity to speak to folks, I always walk away wondering, did I say anything that made any sense? And will any of it make a difference to somebody? I can only hope so.
Well, you actually did. I had, no idea about the Navy League or what all that you were doing there and what it was all about, but now I totally understand it. I can't wait to Google it and look at the website and everything. So very exciting. And I think our viewers and listeners are now very knowledgeable about the Navy League.
As far as the personal advice, sometimes my wife says, you're a little odd sometimes, right? And so I don't know how to take that, but I'm sure that my advice sometimes, like, how I talked about, how I deal with the transition and all that, it may be, I'm sure that it's non-traditional in some level. That's why my disclaimer is it works for me.
Right.
And for me, it's about this moment in time, be responsible about the future. I don't think at all about the past. The only thing I pull away from the past is I try not to repeat the same mistakes. Lord knows I got a lot of those.
Great advice. Great advice. Okay. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and coming on to Tactical Treasures podcast. It was such an
Tracy,
honor to speak with
my
you.
pleasure. And you and Jerry have friends in Washington, D.C. So if
Great.
you guys want to make it this way, shoot us a note. And if you're not able to make it, and Teresa and I are always willing to,
well, if you're
drive
ever
up
in
to
the if you're
the
ever in the
greater Philly
Philadelphia,
area.
yeah, if you're ever in the Philadelphia suburbs, come check us out in Berwyn, Pennsylvania, JDog HQ. We've come a long way. We've moved, we've expanded. We have great stuff going on. But yeah, if we're ever in Washington, it would be an honor to finally meet your lovely wife and to meet up with you guys.
Yeah. And we would love to get you and Jerry down at some point to just show you around the Navy League building. And I introduce you to that Center for Maritime Strategy, Admiral Fogo and his team. I think you'd both find that really interesting.
Oh, I'm sure we would. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right, Mike.
Thanks,
Take
Tracy.
care. Bye-bye. Okay, viewers and listeners, you've just heard our incredible podcast that we just had with Mike Stevens, the CEO of the Navy League. And if you want to find out more about Mike Stevens and what he is doing there, please Google Navy League or go to the website, NavyLeague.org. And you can find information about how to donate or become a member.